types of doctors. Doctor for surgery is called a surgeon. Doctor for cancer is called an oncologist. Doctor for women is called a gynecologist. Doctor for imaging is called a radiologist. Doctor for toxins is called a toxicologist. Doctor for the feet is called a podiatrist. Doctor for children is called a pediatrician. Doctor for the heart is called a cardiologist. Doctor for diabetes is called a diabetologist. Doctor for newborns is called a neonatologist. Doctor for the skin is called a dermatologist. Doctor for the liver is called a hepatologist. Doctor for the lungs is called a pulmonologist. Doctor for childbirth is called an obstetrician. Doctor for the kidneys is called a nephrologist. Doctor for the elderly is called a geriatrician. Doctor for the elderly is called a geriatrician. Doctor for the eyes is called an ophthalmologist. Doctor for hormones is called an endocrinologist. Doctor for internal organs is called an internist. Doctor for the chest is called a thoracic surgeon. Doctor for mental health is called a psychiatrist. Doctor for the urinary tract is called a urologist. Doctor for hand surgeries is called a hand surgeon. Doctor for oral surgeries is called an oral surgeon. Doctor for genetic disorders is called a geneticist. Doctor for teeth alignment is called an orthodontist. Doctor for spine surgeries is called a spine surgeon. Doctor for blood vessels is called a vascular surgeon. Doctor for the nervous system is called a neurologist. Doctor for tissue examination is called a pathologist. Doctor for trauma injuries is called a trauma surgeon. Doctor for plastic surgery is called a plastic surgeon. Doctor for general surgery is called a general surgeon. Doctor for allergies is called an allergist immunologist. Doctor for breast conditions is called a breast surgeon. Doctor for skin diseases is called a dermatopathologist. Doctor for eye surgeries is called an ophthalmic surgeon. Doctor for urgent care is called an urgent care physician. Doctor for hospitalized patients is called a hospitalist. Doctor for families is called a family medicine physician. Doctor for autoimmune diseases is called a rheumatologist. Doctor for bone cancers is called an orthopedic oncologist. Doctor for bones and joints is called an orthopedic surgeon. Doctor for obesity is called an obesity medicine specialist. Doctor for eyelid surgery is called an oculoplastic surgeon. Doctor for eyelid surgery is called an oculoplastic surgeon. Doctor for genetic medicine is called a medical geneticist. Doctor for physical rehabilitation is called a physiatrist. Doctor for pediatric surgery is called a pediatric surgeon. Doctor for chronic wounds is called a wound care specialist. Doctor for high-risk pregnancies is called a perinatologist. Doctor for clinical genetics is called a clinical geneticist. Doctor for cancer radiation is called a radiation oncologist. Doctor for rehabilitation is called an occupational therapist. Doctor for investigating deaths is called a medical examiner. Doctor for chronic pain is called a pain management specialist. Doctor for the mouth and jaw is called a maxillofacial surgeon. Doctor for the digestive system is called a gastroenterologist. Doctor for the colon and rectum is called a colorectal surgeon. Doctor for pediatric lungs is called a pediatric pulmonologist. Doctor for addiction is called an addiction medicine specialist. Doctor for holistic care is called an osteopathic physician. Doctor for fertility issues is called a reproductive specialist. Doctor for emergencies is called an emergency medicine physician. Doctor for infections is called an infectious disease specialist. Doctor for pediatric kidneys is called a pediatric nephrologist. Doctor for legal investigations is called a forensic pathologist. Doctor for sleep disorders is called a sleep medicine specialist. Doctor for sports injuries is called a sports medicine physician. Doctor for adolescents is called an adolescent medicine specialist. Doctor for liver transplants is called a liver transplant surgeon. Doctor for quality of life is called a palliative care specialist. Doctor for elderly mental health is called a geriatric psychiatrist. Doctor for pediatric emergencies is called an emergency pediatrician. Doctor for digestive surgeries is called a gastrointestinal surgeon. Doctor for heart procedures is called an interventional cardiologist. Doctor for children's hormones is called a pediatric endocrinologist. Doctor for reconstructive surgery is called a reconstructive surgeon. Doctor for neuropsychiatric disorders is called a neuropsychiatrist. Doctor for aviation medicine is called an aerospace medicine specialist. Doctor for critical care is called a critical care medicine specialist. Doctor for heart and lung surgeries is called a cardiothoracic surgeon. Doctor for brain vessel procedures is called an endovascular neurosurgeon. Doctor for behavioral brain disorders is called a behavioral neurologist. Doctor for cosmetic treatments is called an aesthetic medicine specialist. Doctor for radioactive treatments is called a nuclear medicine physician. Doctor for disease prevention is called a preventive medicine specialist. Doctor for reproductive hormones is called a reproductive endocrinologist. Doctor for workplace injuries is called an occupational medicine physician. Doctor for children's heart conditions is called a pediatric cardiologist. Doctor for musculoskeletal cancers is called a musculoskeletal oncologist. Doctor for musculoskeletal cancers is called a musculoskeletal oncologist. Doctor for neurological procedures is called a neurointerventional surgeon. Doctor for hyperbaric treatments is called a hyperbaric medicine specialist. Doctor for pediatric allergies is called a pediatric allergist immunologist. Doctor for environmental health is called an environmental medicine specialist. Doctor for integrative treatments is called an integrative medicine specialist. Doctor for vascular procedures is called a vascular interventional radiologist. Doctor for psychosomatic disorders is called a psychosomatic medicine specialist. Doctor for the ear, nose and throat is called an otolaryngologist, ENT specialist. Doctor for children's blood disorders is called a pediatric hematologist, oncologist. Doctor for children's infections is called a pediatric infectious disease specialist.